Hi, Bob. Veronica Kieran from Green Cup Design here. So as promised, I'm going to do a quick analysis of your website as it exists right now so we have a really clear idea of the opportunities available for growth. So right off the bat, when I come to your website, your logo is really prominent, which makes me feel like I understand where I am. And it's really simple design, which is good. I can see you're using the Enfold theme, which is a good theme to work with. It's an extremely popular one, and being that you have only a few different links here, I think that it'll be a lighter website for you. Sometimes the Enfold theme can get really heavy. So scrolling through, everything's laid out in an easy manner. Video is really great. It converts much better than anything else. Some things I worry about is like having a slider here. Sliders can be really slow for mobile, and if you take a look here, see how this bottom piece moves every time the picture changes, or many of the pictures. You've got a picture or two in there that aren't exactly the same size, which means that it's bumping the size of that slider frame around. See, there it goes. So that can be a little bit difficult. I would suggest doing side-by-sides instead so that me, a viewer, can kind of like pause it rather than having to navigate through and say like, okay, well, where'd that one go that I was looking for, and get all confused. Static images just work a little bit better, especially on mobile, and to have a better user experience. So heading back up, your banner here it's hard to read, and I think it gives the wrong impression. As we've discussed, the photography for this product is rather outdated at this point, and it's especially obvious here. Green tile like this is probably, I don't know, 1970s or 80s, maybe 90s, and especially the frontage on the cabinets as well, and the dark wood everywhere. That's kind of an outdated look. So I would suggest a different image for this place so that it just looks more updated. And then from there, we can talk about aligning this text here because right now it's in the middle. It's kind of crossing over some white parts, making it a little bit harder to read. So I think it could be bigger. It could be bigger text, and it could be placed in a more desirable location, either on one side or the other, so that the image can stand out. In fact, if you wanted to take the leap, we could even do a custom banner here, which would have the text built in and a call to action. And so it would be stronger language and a stronger image, and would make me feel the urgency as somebody who just came to the site. You got your phone number in the logo here and up here. I might suggest putting the phone number again at the bottom. Oh, you have it. Yeah, I don't think that you need it up here at the top twice. So you've got it twice up here. I think that's unnecessary. I can see it's right here, so I can just dial it. So I would suggest just taking that out, and that'll give you more space because the slider goes below the fold, at least on my computer. So without this upper bar, it'll mean that the site starts here, which makes this image more prominent, your logo more prominent, and makes the sliding a little bit easier. It just makes more sense. So you've got some bullets here, which is good. That breaks up the text. I definitely don't like walls of text. This one's a little bit shorter and it's broken up, so it's not my favorite, but it's not bad. Again, this is broken up really nicely because you've got two different sized columns. You've got another call to action here, which is really good, and a free quote. I would delete the send us mail. That's a default in Enfold. You can just remove it. And so that's the free quote, here's the information, and then here is the form. So I would suggest removing the send us mail since it's generic and it doesn't flow. I like this here. I would make these green just because it's a little bit more of a comfortable color for knowing that these are things that come with the product. Blue is a good color as well, so it's not, if you don't feel like changing it, I wouldn't put a huge priority on it. I'd love to see one or two more, or if you do have different befores and afters. You might want to lay this section out differently. So maybe you could have a side-by-side images before and afters and then have 4 of them. So it'd be a grid 1, 2, 3, 4 that I could then click on and enlarge. And then they would be full size on mobile, which would make it a little bit easier for viewing. So organize, store, transform is a great kind of process as well. I like this picture fairly well. The wood around it is a little bit outdated, but like the wood inside is fine. Although I gotta say, the blonde wood next to the darker oak makes me feel like you're not going to match my cabinets. And so again, maybe updated photography would be a better idea altogether. This photo, the cabinets look outdated. And again, you know this, I know you know this. And since the homepage is laid out in a fairly good way, photos are going to be one of my major critiques. You've got a really good layout with your features here, so that's a big plus, and it's very easy to read. And again, we talked about this picture is just outdated, so we'll move on. Down here, I don't really like this. So it looks to me like the Pullout Shelf company gave you a logo that doesn't have a background to it, which is fine, but it turns black like this when it's placed in some image modules on websites. So if it is black, just from what they gave you, I would request that they give you one that is with a white background or with no background at all, because the black is kind of sudden and it's really dark, and we're talking about something where we want to make people happy, and so we don't want a black background on things. I like this logo. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's this text here that kind of bothers me. To my brain, it's just a wall of text. It's a bunch of big block letters, and I don't want to read it. Plus, I can see there's sort of like a space here that you returned the line, but it's not obvious because of the type of text that was used. So I would suggest using a different module here, and maybe even using a separator in between the two phrases, because right now the words are too big and they're too blocky and they run together. And so my brain says, okay, there's a bunch of words. I don't want to read it. I'll read this instead because it's easier to read, but gosh, that's dark, it's all black. Or I'll read Proudly Made in the USA, which is very easy to read, and then move on. So you're losing some of the opportunity here. Another call to action down here, great. I might even suggest making this like that blue or green color, just to separate it from the calls today part, and to be like, this is the action item. This is the phone number that you need. It stands out. Here it is. Finally, this is the default link that comes with the theme, and you're advertising for a theme that was already purchased. You really don't need to do that, and it looks a little bit unprofessional. It's really easy to remove, so it actually takes about like, you type in no link into a field that is in the controls. I know that you don't want to be touching the site, so that's definitely something I can do, and it would take about 1 minute. It's like the easiest thing I can suggest to do on this entire site. Okay, so moving on from the home page, we've got a gallery. So let's take a look at the gallery. Again, Enfold is known to be a little bit slow for loading, but it's a strong theme, so that's why a lot of people choose it, and I don't think that it's a bad idea. Okay, so kitchen. If I scroll down, pantry and bath and laundry. Ooh, that's a really grainy bad picture. So the first thing I'm wondering if you've optimized any of these images. And I have a tool that I can find out, but I think you'll know based on quality. And if we're going to redo all of the images anyway, then it's not something we need to worry about. Okay, so let's see how these work. Pantry. So okay, so they link within, and that works right. So okay, so that works right. I'm not so sure that this is a strong point to do, because let's see what happens when we go to page 2. So now we're on gallery page 2, which is a whole different link. I get more, takes a little time to load, and nothing down here. That doesn't load at all. So I suggest tailoring this down to just being one section instead of having several pages, because this looks really bad to have those empty. And we already know that some of these images are extremely outdated, so I think you could sift that way. Take the images out that look like they're from the 80s and 90s, and only use the images like this looks fairly good, this looks okay. They look nicer when they're kind of whited out, which is nice. This looks much more modern. So does this with all the chrome. So I would just make a determination throughout all your images and parse them down so that there's only so many on the kitchen section, so you don't have this these buttons here. You can count how many images it's allowing you to put on here. You can actually control that, and obviously that's something I can do as well if you don't feel like touching it. But yeah, we don't want to have this going to different pages, and then that takes extra load time since we're going to a full different web page as opposed to just pulling more pictures through Ajax or Lightbox, it's a JavaScript. And then these are empty, so it looks kind of unfinished. Okay, so then contact us. Okay, so this text you did change, which is good. Okay, so contact us, Simple Self Solutions. You may contact us by phone number, or the contact form will get back with you in 48 hours. 24 hours, that's really good. That makes me feel comfortable having an understanding of what will happen next. I would love a little bit more, like we'll get back with you in 24 hours via phone, or we'll get back to you on your preferred method, which you could then ask for in this form. Or even, you could even have check boxes saying, do you want a free consultation or whatnot? So I think you could add a little bit more to this, but overall it's not bad. I kind of want a map. I know that you come to their house, but since we're talking about made in the USA and being local, you could certainly have a map with your location, even though I think you're using your home office. So maybe just a generic Grand Rapids kind of address where the point goes to, and then something down here saying proudly serving the greater West Michigan area, so that I understand that even though I'm not in Grand Rapids or I may not be within the 616 area code, you can still serve me. And that will help you optimize for location as well, so that Google knows where you are. One thing that I didn't see, I'll go back to welcome just in case, but as I was looking through here, I didn't see any sort of like testimonial quotes saying, this made my life so much easier, or I love these, from any of your clients. And I think that that's something you should work towards gathering, because I'm much more likely to buy something that I know other people love. And I don't see anything on here that makes me feel like you've ever sold any at all, even though I know you have. So I would suggest working towards gathering testimonial quotes from your clients, and that would be something you would do, a couple weeks after they've had them in their home, so they can fall in love with them, like we discussed. Last little thing that I would suggest is up here. You don't have a favicon. A favicon is here. Let's go to Google, and you can see what I'm talking about. So see how the little G is up here. If I have several tabs open, this will just be a blank paper, as you can see. It also just looks a little bit less polished. It looks like you didn't put the thought into it as a company, and it really takes only a few seconds to put one in here. It'll be basically a small square version of your logo without the words. So I think it's worth doing because it achieves a little bit more polish, and thus a little bit more authority and trust. And like I said, it's about a couple of minutes of work to generate that and then put it in. All right, well, I hope you found this helpful, and we'll talk about hours and budget in our next meeting. All right, have a wonderful day.